Hey everyone, and welcome back. So, in the last video, I showed you how I start a new town in Farthest Frontier. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description, and you should also see the little time card up in the corner. So in this video, we're going to take that same town that we got started with in the last one, and we're going to get the town to tier 2. So I've done a couple of things here since the last video. I moved a couple of the buildings around, just like we had talked about, and then I started laying out a few roads. So what do we need to do to get to tier 2? Well, if you select your town center, it'll show you up here, requirements to upgrade. 8 shelters, we've got 4. You need a market, you need population of 30, 40 wood planks, and stone. So we can already accumulate stone. Right now we don't have any wood planks, and that's because you need a certain building to take your logs and turn them into wood planks. And then I don't believe the market is unlocked yet either. It is not. So it requires the saw pit. And the saw pit is how you make those wood planks. And it requires a storehouse as well. Let's place those 2 buildings down. So now the saw pit has really poor desirability. The people do not want to live close to this thing, so I don't really want to replace these bird nests. And this is where we're going to build. You can see when you have a building with low desirability and you drag it closer to your houses, how the desirability goes down. Alright, well let's just put it on the other side of the eggs then, if we don't want to get rid of those. We'll plop that there. And the storehouse, we kind of keep this close to the town center. Right now, if we were to get into trouble, the town center is really our only defense building. You go in here, you can ring this little bell, and the villagers will run inside and shoot out of it. And when people come to pillage your town, I mean, normally it doesn't happen this early in the game, but they'll try and ransack your storehouses or any of your storage for gold and other useful items. So for the beginning of the game, I usually like to keep my storehouse pretty close to my town center. So speaking of storages, these are not required to get to tier 2, but check out our food. Like, we've got 10 months worth of food stored up. That's pretty good. Probably more than a town of 12 people needs. But we're also, all 10 months of that is going to spoil in the next year if we don't eat it all. And there's a couple ways to fight spoilage, food spoilage. One is the root cellar for vegetables, roots, and things of that nature. Typically the stuff that your forager will pick up off the ground. And then you've got smokehouses for the meat. So those are the things like the fish that your fishermen catch and the meat that your hunters get. So the meat house has some slight undesirability, so you don't want to put it close to your houses. Where do we put our well? Okay, it's kind of hidden behind those bushes. Probably just from experience, a good idea to put your smokehouse not far from a well, because go figure, seems to catch fire more than any other building that I've run into. I'm going to put it over here by our well. Not really in our undesirable zone, but I wanted to keep it close to the hunter cabin and close to the fishing hut. And then we will put that, oops, root cellar down as well. And for now, we'll just plop that there. Alright, so we have to get our population up to 30 for tier 2. And so in order for your town to grow, you need room for it to grow, which means you always need available space for new people to move in or for babies to be born. You can see here in the age brackets that we have one infant already. So I think for now we're okay, but as soon as we start getting to closer to 16 people, we want to make sure we put another shelter down. The other thing that maybe you might be wondering is, hey, like, why don't you put a farm down? You know, it's food production. But the thing is about farms is, well, first of all, they take a very long time to build. And while they do produce a lot of food, or can, if you do it right, it produces too much food, I would argue, for this early in the game and for such a low population. I mean, we will definitely put one down before getting to tier 2, but for the start of the game, our fishing hut, our hunter's cabin, and our forager shack is gathering more than enough food for us, and anything else that we do is at risk of spoiling for not being used. So we won't be putting the farm down for a little while, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna speed up the simulation one notch here, and we'll let our workers start working on those things. We need a lot of stone for the root cellar, and then we also need stone for the town center. So we need to be harvesting some more stone. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off berries and just have it start grabbing a bunch of that stuff. Also, well, I was going to say, I'd also like to kind of explore a little bit. I think there was some good foraging here in these lowlands. But we also, in the last episode, had that wolf come from this direction. So I don't really want to send anyone over there. Down here in the corner, with the hotkey E, you can set an exploration point, and a villager will go out there and uncover the darkness. But you risk them running into a predator that way. And then they have to hopefully outrun the predator back to town. So we saw that these people are struggling with water. There's a well here, which is certainly close enough for them. But I might want to put another one down even closer. And check the fertility, because I want to put my farm somewhere here. So it wouldn't really be a bad idea to put one out here. The water bonus is pretty poor, though. Alright, there's some 60s over here. 65. Okay, and this will be sort of in the center of where we're going to be building our citizens' homes, like our neighborhoods. So they'll enjoy having a well nearby. We'll build another one there. Okay, so the storehouse is done, the sawhouse is done. So now we should be able to build our market. We don't have any planks yet, but they're going to start working on it. And actually, I'm going to redesign this a little bit. I've decided. I'm going to move... When you start your town, it starts with a storage cart that can actually move around. Most of the time I find it's just in the way, but... Alright, I'm going to redesign this, I think. Same with these houses. So this is what happens. At first, I didn't really like the idea of moving buildings around because I thought that it wasn't very realistic. Like, it doesn't make sense to plop down a building and then like, oh, I didn't like where I put that, I'm just gonna move it. But it's a video game, and if you want your town to look good, like I said in a previous video, you're not going to be able to lay your town out perfectly from the start. I mean, you can have a pretty rough idea of what you want to do, but the truth is that you're going to need to move things around quite a bit. So I'm going to make like a little avenue here. Typically I don't do the grid layout that you might see in a lot of other videos. The grids is fine. It is more efficient and saves space. But, I mean, it does feel realistic and match what we see in our cities in the real world, especially for the town center areas. So I'll sometimes do that around my town center, but I think it looks good and feels more natural to have the roads just kind of follow the terrain a bit. So you'll see that a lot in my builds is the lack of grid and curved roads that just contour the land. Alright, so while these houses are being moved, our hunter says that she can't find any game. Hunter hasn't found any game for a while. Well, there's a whole bunch of deer out here, so I don't know what she's talking about. There, she got one. Hunt better. Okay, where's our forager going? Okay, I'm gonna move this blueberry bush from the first video and put it inside of the forager's radius. And I think we'll do that with... So, like I said, these blueberry bushes already in the radius, so I'm not going to waste our workers' time in moving those. But if we find any more, like here's some over here, but this... Oh, a blizzard early. And we're moving houses, so there's people that don't have homes. That's great. I'm going to leave these blueberry bushes here because there's also some other good stuff here, so we might have a forager work over there. We're actually pretty low on food. I thought these would be enough, at least for a little while, but since there's so much good stuff to forage... I think I'm gonna put another forager down. So when blizzards hit, they come early, like right at the start of winter, and they bring deadly cold temperatures. And what that causes is it causes your people to go indoors. When the temperatures aren't deadly, then they can continue to work and do some tasks in winter. But when the weather gets too cold, they have to go inside, and this is just downtime for your town. Nobody's working, nobody's doing anything. And it's just part of the game, see? So now the blizzard's over, the temperatures might not be as bad. So even though it's still winter, they come out of their homes and get back to their jobs. This forager's going up quick. And we'll go ahead and add them over here, even though it's winter and they can't gather. Okay, so market. Where did we put that well? There it is. So it's a good idea, like the market has increased desirability. You can see the green highlight around our shelters. I was distracted by the low food. I'm going to pause the game real quick. So placing the market near your shelters increases their desirability. For now, I'm just going to plop it right there so it's down. And look at that, like the plank people have been working hard. We're almost to the 30 we need for the market. Did they not build these roads yet? Okay, yeah, I wanted to change this one and put it right here instead. Once we get to tier 2, we can plop down a trading post, and I was going to put my trading post right here. So I think right about now, since we're struggling with food, is I am going to start that farming process. I mean, like I said, it's going to take a long time to build a farm. So you're not going to start getting the food for a few years. I'm thinking maybe we could put another row of houses in here. 1, 2, 3. Without encroaching on the fertile land too much. And then I'm going to leave a little gap. 1 tile gap. And then when you click and drag for a farm, don't let go yet and read this tooltip. You can see the fertility is pretty good, over 70%. But we know that from the fertility overlay. The minimum size is 5 by 5, 5 by 5, and it only requires 1 worker, which is good for the early game. You can actually extend to 5 by 6 with 1 worker, but as soon as you go 5 by 7 or 6 by 6, it requires a 2nd worker. Also in the future, regarding cows, it's fairly efficient to build a 10 by 10 because your cows can come in and fertilize the crops so long as you're not growing food that they're going to eat at the time. Like if you put them in there during maintenance or clover, they'll actually fertilize the land, and they graze in a 10 by 10 area. So I usually like to start with a 5 by 5. And one of the neat things, we won't be able to see until the farm is complete, but you can actually, instead of having to build a 10 by 10 right now, you can build a 5 by 5 and then you can extend it. And it'll actually extend the crops that you have already placed in there. So one important thing you can see here, construction is halted due to winter. Farms cannot be worked on during the winter time. See, now it turns off, and look at just a 5 by 5 is over 1,100 labor. So that's what I mean by, like, it won't be completed this year. I mean, we'll be lucky if it's completed by during next year. Kind of just depends on what happens. So where are we at? We're still clearing the room for the market. We're at 15 of 16 people, so that is a good indication that we need to put a new house down. Put it right there. So you don't want to overdo it. I mean, some people will just start laying down all of their houses. And while your population won't grow immediately, but you got to keep your eye on your food in these types of games. Banished is particularly brutal. I mean, I've seen people, say that this game is brutal, but so far I've found this game to be a lot easier than Banished is. Banished, if you mess something up, or you don't keep track of things very well, your town will just start a landslide into ruin, and your people can all die immediately. There's a lot of the problems in Banish you can fix and you can turn it around, but it takes time. But this is the same type of game. So our new house is built, so our cap is up to 20. But yeah, this is the same type of game. You gotta keep an eye on your food and your health. I mean, for the most part, people are pretty healthy early in the game. So speaking of, let's see, under resources, all of this stuff is unlocked now. And these are tier 1 items, but we needed the saw pit to finish before we could build any of these. Okay, so our market is up. So now we've met that requirement. So now we have to rebuild our planks. Get up to 40. We're still short on stone. We've got 5 shelters, so we need 3 more. And we gotta get our population up to 30. So something that I didn't mention before, and it's a feature that's in the game currently, and I can't imagine they would take it out, but once you start placing down shelters, you get sort of a little bit of a quest, I guess, for lack of a better term. And they say that if you amass 4 months worth of food and build 6 houses, some people will come to join your town. And so we've got 5 houses. So if we build one more, I mean we need 8, but if we go ahead and build one more, then we should get some people coming in to immigrate to our town, and that'll help us with our population. So check it out. Now that we've got the market down, we're getting tax revenue. We've already got 20 gold, and we're getting 6 per month, so we can afford that composter. And I would recommend getting this down quickly because it sort of looks like maybe the waste is already piling up, like on that house. And the longer it sits, the more likely you are to create disease. You can see how terrible the desirability is for this. I mean, as you can imagine, it smells lovely. Alright, we'll put it way out here. Did it require planks? It does. Alright, I'm going to plop that down, but we're going to disable the production for now. Hey, so we got that 6th house built, and here's the people that the game promised us for the quest. If we met those 2 criteria, the people would be interested in joining our town. But we're probably going to need these other homes to finish. So 6 people have arrived at your village. They have plans to immigrate. Will you accept them or turn them away? We will accept. That gets us up to 25. These 2 houses, once they finish, will get us up over 30. Give us a cap of 32. So we'll still need a few more people to join or babies to be born. So I mean, they're already over here working on this. We already got the market down. Way ahead of you, game. But I'm going to click prioritize on those buildings anyways. So I think we're just about there. Okay, there it is. It hadn't updated yet. I was like, we should be at 32, but it was showing 28. Alright, we're good on everything. Good on everything except for the population, so we just need to add 5 people. And there's no telling how long that will take, so I'll probably fast forward the video. So while I was waiting for our population to grow, I was checking out some of this clay. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you can see these little icons on here for our resources, and if you press F4, it'll give you a detailed display of how many the resource has. So now, like these bushes and greens, the forager items, they'll come back every year when it's their season to grow. But things like clay, like once you deplete them, they're gone. But I was kind of astonished at how much clay there is out here. Like this one has almost 7,000 clay in it. Another 4,500 over there, 3,500, 3,700. This one just under 1,000. That is a lot of clay. So this might be a good town to kind of go all in on clay production. And like I said earlier in the episode, make the pots with the potter building and then sell those. Alright, well that happened quickly. We're sitting on 28 of 32 for quite a while, and we got 2 new villagers immigrated and 2 new villagers born. So that got us to 30. Now we can upgrade to tier 2. Alright, so we have met all of the requirements. And now we can hit upgrade. And it'll have to take that stone from the requirement and the planks from the requirement and build the building, and as soon as it's done, your town will be in tier 2. Alright, there it is. We had to wait into winter, but it's complete. We are in tier 2. Press B. Food production, tier 2 items are available. Resources, these ones are still missing. Oh, that's right, the wagon shop. You have to build the wagon shop, and then the wagon goes to like all your different mines and clay pit, sand pit, and picks up the materials and brings them back to a stockyard. So the wagon is required for all of those. Alright, well, we made it to tier 2. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I think that it went a little bit longer than I expected it to, so I had to cut some of the footage out just to bring the video length down for you guys. But thank you so much for watching. If you like these little informative Farthest Frontier videos, or if there's something that you think I missed or that I could be doing differently or better, be sure to let me know in the comments. And like to do another video that kind of breaks down each one of the buildings and talks about what they do and all that stuff, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.